بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمد ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. عن أبي سعيد الخدري رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم قال: كان في من كان قبلكم رجل قتل 99 نفسا فسأل عن أعلم أهل الأرض فدل على راهب فأتاه فقال إنه قتل 99 نفسا فهل له من توبة؟ فقال لا، فقتله فكمل به 100 ثم سأل عن أعلم أهل الأرض فدل على رجل عالم فقال إنه قتل 100 نفس فهل له من توبة؟ فقال نعم. ومن يحول بينه وبين توبته؟ انطلق إلى أرض كذا وكذا فإن بها أناسا يعبدون الله فاعبد الله معهم ولا ترجع إلى أرضك فإنها أرض سوء. فانطلق حتى إذا نصف الطريق فأتاه الموت فاختصمت فيه ملائكة الرحمة وملائكة العذاب، فقالت ملائكة الرحمة جاء تائبا مقبلا بقلبه إلى الله تعالى، وقالت ملائكة العذاب إنه لم يعمل خيرا قط، فأتاهم ملك في صورة آدمي فجعلوه بينهم فقال قيسوا ما بين الأرضين فإذا أيتهما كان أدنى فهو له، فقاسوه فوجدوه أدنى إلى الأرض التي أراد فقبضته ملائكة الرحمة. وفي رواية في الصحيح فكان إلى القرية الصالحة أقرب منها بشبر فجعل من أهلها. وفي رواية في الصحيح فأوحى الله إلى هذه أن تقربي وإلى هذه وأن تباعدي، فقال قيس ما بينهما فوجد إلى هذه أقرب بشبر فغفر له، أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. وبشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب زدني علما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وصل على المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات. Hadith Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radhiyallahu anhu reports that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that from the nation before you, from the people before you, there was a man قتل 99 نفسا, who had killed and murdered 99 souls, 99 people. فسأل عن أعلم أهل الأرض فدل على راهب. After some time, this individual, he made some inquiries, he asked, and he wanted to be directed towards the most knowledgeable person. فدل على راهب, and he was given the direction towards a rahib, towards a monk, towards a person who has dedicated his life to worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فأتاه, so this individual came to this monk. فقال إنه قتل 99 نفسا. So this person, he exposed his own sins for the hope and for the right reason, and the right reason was to seek forgiveness. Generally, we should conceal our habits. There's something between ourselves and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If a person keeps his sins to himself and Allah, there is a possibility of him turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in tawbah. But when a person exposes himself, when a person posts his sins, when a person makes his sins viral, when a person uploads his sins for the public to see, that is having a courage. It's like a war between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that He conceals our sins. He hides our sins. But when a person exposes himself for the wrong reasons, then it's as though he's going against the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he's showing his courage to Allah, then the tawbah, the tawfiq of tawbah is taken away from that individual. So here he came to this monk for the right purpose, with the right intention, right motive, that look, I have done 99 big sins. I have killed 99 people. So is there any tawbah for me? Is there any chance of me being forgiven? So this monk who had ibadat in his life, but he had less ilm in his life. He had ibadat in his life, but he didn't have enough ilm. He didn't have the right ilm. So the monk replied, La, you've done 99 big sins. There is no chance of you being forgiven. There's no chance of you being forgiven at all. فَقَتَلَهُ, so this person, he thought that, I've done 99. One more is not going to do harm. فَكَمَّلَهُ بِهِ مِئَةً ثُمَّ سَأَلَ مِئَةً. So then he also killed this monk and he completed his 100. ثُمَّ سَأَلَ, after some time has gone by, he again made some inquiries. He wanted to be directed towards the most knowledgeable person. فَدُلَّ عَلَى رَجُلٍ عَالِمٍ. This time he was directed and given the direction towards the right individual. A person who had ilm in his life. A person who had ilm and knowledge in his life. So فَقَالَ إِنَّهُ قَتَلَ 100 نَفْسٍ. Now, one point that we also can highlight from here, the scholars have explained that the external figure, the appearance, is not only what we should look at. Sometimes a person looks like very Sufi, very buzurg, he's got the amama on, he's got the jubba on, he's got the beard on, but the reality and the internal is something else. So we shouldn't always be deceived by this. We should always check and be, study carefully before who we attach ourselves to. There are many people who are, fakes in the world, you can say, that will put their appearance like this. And we are deceived by this many times. That's why one of the dua of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is that Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqa warzuqna ittiba'a wa arina al-batila batila warzuqna ijtinaba. That, oh Allah, whatever is haqq, show me the haqq, so I am able to follow the haqq. Whatever is evil, whatever is batil and false, protect me from that batil, from that evil. One of the kitabs of Hazrat Mufti Taqi Uthman Damat Barakatum, when he went on to a tour, Uzbekistan and a couple of places. So in one of these areas, he mentions a story that similar to this, there was externally, he looked like a believer, he looked like a Muslim. But the plans and the plots are different. So what they did was that this individual is actually not a Muslim. They gave him the top type of education in Islam. Made him, a Shaykh al-Hadith, made him a Mufti. And so much so that he actually became the Grand Mufti of that place. He became the Grand Mufti of that place. But internally, he wasn't even a Muslim. He wasn't even a believer. But obviously, the plans are plans, the plots are plots. After some time went, he reached a level where he became a Grand Mufti of that place. And then afterwards, when they managed to make a lot of people come into his trap, then that's when he showed his reality. And the entire town and the entire country was taken down by this individual who made his appearance to be a believer. So the point here, he makes a mention here that sometimes we look at the external figure, but we shouldn't be always deceived by that. We should always be very careful. So here he went to على رجل عالم فقال إنه قتل مئة نفس. He was told that, he told this individual that I have murdered 100 people. فهل له من توبة? Is there any chance of tawbah and forgiveness? فقال نعم. So this alim, this person with ilm, he answered and he prayed and he said, yes, there is. وَمَنْ يَحُولُ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ التَّوْبَةِ. What are you asking for? What is there stopping you between you and the tawbah? Even though you've done 99 or 100 big sins, tawbah still doesn't prevent, it shouldn't still stop you from tawbah. Even though you've done 100 sins, the sins shouldn't stop you from doing the tawbah. انطلق إلى أرض كذا وكذا. Sometimes it happens that we see that a person, he is indulged and involved, and he's got a very habit of committing sins. For example, drinking. He's a heavy drinker, he's a heavy smoker, he may be committing zina. But if he's a believer, we should never ever think of ourselves to be better than the other individual. We should never ever think of ourselves to be better than the other individual. In that current situation, it may seem that he is at a worse condition and a worse place than yourselves, but the last ending of the life, we do not know. So here, وَمَنْ يَحُولُ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ التَّوْبَةِ, he said that what is stopping you from the tawbah? انطلق إلى أرض كذا وكذا. However, wherever you are right now, you've done 100 murders, you'll turn a street and you remember the sin. You'll turn to the next street to remember the other murder. You'll turn another street to remember the other killing. So everywhere you will go, you'll be reminded of this sin. So for you to do the tawbah from this sin is not going to be easy, because wherever you go, all these 100 places are going to remind you of the sin. So you need to go to a place where these reminders and these flashbacks won't happen. So you need to move completely away from here into a complete strange land, complete different land, where these the reminders won't be there and you won't get these flashbacks. So he's told that ila ardi kada wa kada, go towards Basra, go towards in that direction. Why? One reason is you need to move from here. You need to come out of this place of sin. And the second reason is why? Because when you go there, فَإِنَّ بِهَا أُنَاسًا, the people who are there, they are good people. What do? يَعْبُدُونَ اللَّهِ. They are worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَعَبُدِ اللَّهَ مَعَهُمْ. Now when you go there in that environment, in that atmosphere, in that company, it'll become easier for you that you can also worship with them. Because you're in that company, it'll become easier for you. وَلَا تَرْجِعْ إِلَىٰ أَرْضِكَ. However, remember, Remember, once you've migrated from here, once you are intending to leave the place of sins and disobedience, and you want to go to the place of piety and obedience, you want to move from disobedience to obedience, never ever return back to this place. Don't come back to this place. It may be difficult, but فَإِنَّهَا أَرْضُ سَوْءٍ, that this land and this place where you are in right now is evil and is bad for you. So once you've migrated and you move from here, don't look back. Just stay there and just continue living there. فَانْطَلَقَ حَتَّى إِذَا نَسَفَ الطَّرِيقَ. Now this individual, he said, Chalo, I'll accept this advice. It seems like a good advice. Let me go into that direction to this place. So he set off. حَتَّى إِذَا نَسَفَ الطَّرِيقَ أَتَاهُ الْمَوْتِ. He was on the journey from the place of disobedience towards the place of obedience and good people. On the way, أَتَاهُ الْمَوْتِ, the maut and death, time had come. فَاخْتَصَمَتْ فِيهِ مَلَائِكَةُ الرَّحْمَةِ وَمَلَائِكَةُ الْعَذَابِ. Now there was a bit of a jagara. The jagara is between the Malaika al-Rahmah and the Malaika al-Adhab. The angels of mercy and the angels of Adhab. The jagara is between them two. That who should take this soul? Who should take this soul? Now we have a very long hadith in Musnad Ahmad where the Bara bin Azib radiallahu anhu, he draws a picture of the time of the death of a believer, of a good soul, and a soul which is sinful and an evil soul. So he draws a picture, a very lengthy hadith, just to summarize. So he says that when a person who is a good soul, who is a good person, when it comes to his time of death, the malaika, the angels come in a very beautiful form. Their face are very shiny, as shams, as though they are, like a sun, like very beautiful faces. The malaika, the angel takes out the soul, and these malaikatul rahmah who are there, they embrace this soul, they wrap it up in the cloth of Jannah, and he's been given good treatment. And when he's been taken up, every step it takes is been salam done upon. And when he's taken out of the person as well, the malaika says that Ya ayyatuhan nafsut tayyibah, that oh good soul, come out. Just like the hadith explains that when you have a water bottle and you let the water fall out of the bottle, it drops very easily, no problem for that water to come out of the bottle. Like this, the soul is taken out of this individual, which is a good soul, very easily, without any pain. So then it's taken up and is being treated in a very good manner. And then after that, when the soul is returned, the 3 questions are asked, and he's able to give all the questions in the positive, and he's able to answer them correctly. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He expands the grave, the door of Jannah is open for him, and a very beautiful person comes and gives him company, and he asks, who are you? Who is this handsome person? So he says that I am the good deed and the good amal that you used to do in the day of when you were alive in this world. Then Hazrat Bara bin Azib radiallahu anhu, he draws a picture of the evil soul, that when the person who is a sinful person and an evil soul, and the time of death comes to him, then Ya ayyatun nafsul khabitha, the word khabitha is being used, that this khabith soul is being taken out, and this angels come in a very scary looking type, and is being taken out in a very harsh, and the treatment is completely different to this. Now when the soul is returned back and the 3 questions are asked, he's not able to give the answers correctly, then the grave is narrowed and is compressed and put together in such a way that the ribs collide and go into each other, and the punishments of this for this person in the grave begins. So this is the soul of a good person and the soul of a sinful person. So now this one person who was migrating towards Basra, towards the other land, in the middle the maut came. Now the Malaikatul Rahmah are there, and also the Malaikatul Adhab are also there, and they have an argument that who should take this soul? Who should take this soul? Because why? He is traveling from a place of disobedience and going to a place of obedience. So there was a jagra between them. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it possible that, so the Malaikatul Rahmah said that our argument is Ja'a ta'iban muqabilan biqalbihi ilallahi ta'ala, that this person who is here, he is going towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with doing a tawbah. He's done his tawbah and he's going towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with this sincerity. So فقالت ملائكة العذاب, So the Malaikatul Adhab are saying, the angels of Adhab are saying, إِنَّهُ لَمْ يَعْمَلْ خَيْرًا قَطُّ, that he's been living a life of disobedience, he's never done a good deed. He's never done a good deed, so why should the Rahmah Adhab should take him? We should take him, he's never done a good deed. فَأَتَاهُ مَلَكٌ فِي صُورَةِ آدَمِيٍّ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a person to decide in between them. And this individual came, he was a malaika, he was an angel himself, he came in the surat and the form of a human being. فَجَعَلُوهُ بَيْنَهُمْ, and he was made in between to decide between the Malaikatul Adhab and Malaikatul Rahmah. So this is also the qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where He can give the angels a form of a human being. In the time of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam sometimes would come in the form of Hadrat Dahya Qalbi rahmatullahi alayhi radiyallahu anhu. So sometimes the malaika can do this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give the permission and they are able to do that. So this is the qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now this angel who came in the form of a human being, he said, قِيسُ مَا بَيْنَ الْأَرْضَيْنِ فَإِلَىٰ أَيَّتِهِمَا كَانَ أَدْنَى فَهُوَ لَهُ. What you do is that you measure the land. Measure the land from where he is here to where he was, and from here to where he is going. Wherever he is closer to, then you decide, فَقَاسُوهُ فَوَجَدُوهُ أَدْنَى إِلَى الْأَرْضِ الَّتِي أَرَادَ فَقَبَضَتْهُ مَلَائِكَةُ الرَّحْمِ. So they took the measurement from the place where he was till the place where he came from, and from where he is to the place that he was going, and they realized that the land that he was going towards is more closer. So he's more closer to the land that he was going. So then, فَقَبَضَتْهُ مَلَائِكَةُ الرَّحْمَةِ. So the angels of Rahmah and the mercy, they took this soul of this individual. And in one narration he says that فَكَانَ إِلَى الْقَرْيَةِ الصَّالِحَةِ أَقْرَبَ مِنْهَا بِشِبْرٍ فَجُعِلَ مِنْهَا. That when they took the measurement, he was only closer to a shibr, a handspan. He was only closer by a handspan towards the Al-Qadiyatu Salihah, towards the place of the pious people. He was only that closer to this place, then he was made amongst them, i.e. the Malaikatul Rahmah, what took the soul. In another narration he says, فَأَوْحَى اللَّهُ إِلَى هَذِهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, again he showed his qudrat and he showed his power. He said to the land, which was, he was actually more closer to the place of disobedience. But what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do? He changed the dimension of the earth. He made him look further away from the place of disobedience and made him look more closer to the place of obedience, to the place of piety. So he looked like he was more closer to that place. قِيسُ مَا بَيْنَهُمَا فَوُجِدَ إِلَى هَذِهِ أَقْرَبَ بِشِبْرٍ. Again, they took the measurement and it is as though that he was closer by just one handspan. فَغُفِرَ لَهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He forgave this individual. Now we learn many things from this hadith, from this narration. One of the points that we mentioned last week is that we are permissible for us to mention the stories of the previous nation in order for us to gain lessons from. And we also learn that we should go and seek a clarification if we need to, or when we are in a place where we feel that I need to take some guidance and take some advice and mashwara, we should approach the right person, that we are able to get the right advice. And we also learn from this hadith that we are encouraged to do tawbah. And we have been forbidden and stopped from losing hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this individual had done 100 major sins to kill one soul. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the fuqaha have got a discussion about when a person does kill a person, what is the hukam and the ruling of it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran itself, that وَمَنْ قَتَلَ مُؤْمِنًا مُتَعَمِّدًا فَجَزَاؤُهُ جَهَنَّمُ. In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that his jaza and his punishment is Jahannam, and the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is upon him. So the killing one individual itself is a big sin. Now this person had committed 100 murders, but even then the person did not lose hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mercy is greater than that. And we also learn that as long as a person doesn't die on shirk, he will be forgiven. As long as the person doesn't die on shirk, he will be forgiven. And we also learn from this hadith that when a person does come to us for mashwara, we should try to give the correct mashwara, to direct him towards the right person. And we also learn that if a person did not have the knowledge to do so, then he should refrain from giving that advice, because it's possible that he himself will put himself in trouble and he put the other person also into trouble as well. And we also learn about the virtue of ilm over ibadat. We also learn the virtue of ilm over ibadat. That it is important for us to learn how that action is done just before carrying out the action, because it is possible that we may do that action incorrect. So it is important for us to seek knowledge. Talabul ilmi faridah. They would said to a certain degree it is farad upon us. Certain actions that we do, that we have to seek knowledge from. If a person is going to go into business, he should learn the masail of business before starting the business. When we are in any act that we may do, we should get the correct understanding from and the rulings from it. And we also learn about the qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can change the form of an angel into a human being form. He can change the dimensions of the earth. And again, we also learn from this that the earth is in the control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Advanced technology might say other things, but at the end of the day, it is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who controls the earth and controls everything that He has created. And we also learn from this hadith of the main purpose of the hadith is to do the tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It doesn't matter how sinful a person is, as soon as a thought of tawbah comes into his mind, a person should turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala immediately. And the condition as highlighted in here is that we need to move away from the place of tawbah. When we move away from the place of disobedience and place of the sins, then it will become easier for us to do our tawbah correctly and with sincerity, and then our tawbah will be accepted. And the last lesson we learn, one of the lessons we learn, is that we do not know the end result of a person's life. We may be walking and we may see another Muslim brother, somebody who is in a bad situation and condition. We should not look down on that person, because it is possible that before he passes away, he does tawbah, and undoubtedly is the last amal, and that tawbah was so sincere that he wiped away his entire record of sins and is left this world with no sins at all. Here the hadith, the angel said that he's never done a good deed. So doing the tawbah itself is such a good deed that he wiped away all the sins. He wiped away all the sins, and that became the means of forgiveness for him. So we should never ever look down on a person. One of the Jamaat brothers, I think it was a South African alim, explaining, because they were doing gasht. They were doing gasht, and also in the middle of the gasht, they came to the marketplace, and there was a guy, a young person, standing there, and nobody wanted to go towards him. He was in a very bad situation, and tattoos all over his body and everything, and there was a bad smell coming out of him as well, and people wouldn't want to go to him. So one of the sathis, he took the courage and he went to him, and he started giving da'wah to him, and mashallah, through the qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this person, he said, chalo, I'll come with you. So he took him to the masjid, made him do wudu, and either he was a Jamaat time or he made him pray 2 rak'ah salah. Can't remember, one of them two, but he was praying salah. And he went to the sajda, and he just wouldn't get up. Just wouldn't get up. And afterwards, they tried to look at him, and they realized that he's left this world. He realized that he's left this world. Now imagine, the person who's never ever come to the masjid. For Allah knows how many years before that he's ever put his head down into the ground in the sajda position. But it was just the means that this individual had to just go beyond targheeb, and he came to the masjid and he passed away in the state of sajda. So we should never ever look down on a person. We do not know the condition of the person, how he is and what his end life will be. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give myself and give everybody ability to do tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We never lose hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And most importantly, myself and everybody, to move away from sins, the place of sins and the means of sins, and to a place of obedience and to a place of piety and a place of where a person will become easier for him to do ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our gathering. Allahumma ameen. Subhanallah bihamdi, subhanakallah wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati ma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahim. Jazakumullah.